In this video, I'll share my simple formula and 2 core principles that you can use to guarantee successful self-improvement. Have you ever tried to get better at something and it was really difficult to do it? My good friend Lisa is a graduate student at an American university. She's a straight A student, has lots of friends, she's attractive, funny, hardworking. Well, we all have room to improve though, right? Lisa was painfully shy, and she still can be an introvert sometimes. But what's really interesting about Lisa is that over the past couple of years, she's overcome much of her shyness. How was she able to make such a positive change? Lisa believed in herself. She didn't make excuses. She took responsibility for her world. And she embraced the formula and 2 core principles that guarantee successful personal growth. Each of us has things about ourselves that we want to improve. Lisa wanted to be more confident and feel more empowered when she communicated with people whom she didn't know. She also wanted to find a real job, a job with benefits, health insurance, retirement plan. When we first met, Lisa was still working on her bachelor's degree, so I encouraged her to take a communications class. Of course, the mere thought of taking this class filled her with anxiety. At this point, she had a choice. 1, keep the status quo and stay stagnant. Or 2, push herself to grow. Fortunately, she felt the fear and she took the class anyway. Guess what? The class wasn't so scary after all. She did well, and a few months after graduating, she accepted a job as an academic advisor. Guess what this job entails? Lots of talking, communicating face-to-face with students, prospective students, and university staff all day long. Could she have landed this job a year earlier? That's doubtful. She wouldn't have had the nerve to apply for it, or the confidence to crush the interview, or the skills to fulfill the actual day-to-day duties of the job. However, starting with the communication class, she made decisions to repeatedly make herself uncomfortable. She put herself in uncomfortable positions, gradually ratcheting up the difficulty. Only, was she really increasing the difficulty? Let's think about this, because it's an important point of self-improvement. As you're challenging yourself and growing, each subsequent step isn't getting that much more difficult, because each previous step that you complete is making you stronger for the next step. You're building your muscles along the way, whether that's physical muscle or emotional muscle, spiritual, intellectual muscle, it doesn't matter. You're getting stronger with each step. So to begin, ask yourself a few questions. Why do you want to improve? This is a good question to start with. Hopefully, your reasons for self-improvement align with your own internal values. If you're wanting to improve to please someone else, that's external validation and it's not sustainable. Figure out what bothers you. In Lisa's case, she was bothered by her inability to communicate with people in everyday life. At best, it was annoying. At worst, it was holding her back from her goal of finding a career. If something bothers you, that's the thing that you should turn toward. Lean into it. If driving bothers you, drive more often. Take more driver's ed classes. If being lonely bothers you, get out of the house. Take a class. Volunteer. So figure out what bothers you, and then figure out what you can do to fix it. And if you're still not sure, try this exercise. Just sit quietly for 5 minutes and think about things around you that bother you. Many of these you can probably fix quite easily, quickly. Others you can put on a list and start to work on them one by one. Learn what is important to you. In addition to knowing what bothers you, figure out what your priorities are. What values are important to you? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Who do you want to be in 5 years? Lisa wanted to overcome her shyness and establish her career in the next 5 years. and ask, what do you spend the most time doing? Once you know what's bothering you, and you've prioritized what to work on first, consider this. What do you spend the most time doing? It's a fantastic place to make improvements. We spend half our lives sleeping, commuting, cooking, eating. Invest your resources to improve the things that you do most. You'll get bigger payoffs this way. Going back to my previous examples, Lisa could improve her hobby of writing poetry, but working on her interviewing skills would likely bring her more benefits. I mean, it's okay to pick off some low-hanging fruit, but don't ignore the big-ticket items in your life. All right, having asked and answered those questions, I want to make a few points. The first is, if it feels hard to get started, look to your past. You've almost certainly done something similar before. If you don't believe me, sometimes we overlook our little successes. Were you nervous the first day of high school or college? Probably. Were you nervous on the second day? Probably less so, and as the semester went on, you became more confident. Were you nervous the first time that you drove a car? Are you just as nervous today? And these are just a couple examples. You have your own past successes that you can use for inspiration. Remind yourself of your past successes. Make note of them. I keep a file, a physical file, with successes. They might be letters, thank you cards, certificates, and I can reference this file whenever I need to get a confidence boost. Second point, care for your inner child. In episode 1, I introduced the concept of your inner child. My point was that you want to give your inner child reassurance and love. Sometimes you will be scared or sad or hurt. And during these times, it helps to think of your inner child because they're also scared or sad or hurt or whatever emotion you're feeling. When you care for your inner child, it will help switch your brain into caretaker mode. Be supportive of yourself. Be reassuring. If you'd like to know more about taking care of your inner child, let me know in the comments and I'll make a video about it. My third point, take responsibility. You are responsible for who you are today, and you will be responsible for who you are tomorrow. Any improvement or lack of improvement rests on your shoulders. And let's be clear, you create the world you live in. Now, I don't mean globally, I mean close to home. Your actions, your beliefs, the people whom you surround yourself with, you build your world. There's something else I want to say here. You're not going to grow if you're worried about what other people will say or think. Embrace your inner cringe. It's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay if not everybody agrees with what you're doing. You can't control what other people might say or think about you. Embrace your inner cringe. The fourth point, set goals. Now, this might seem obvious, but it's important to set goals for your personal development. Write them down. Having goals with stated timelines will help keep you accountable and focused. All of the positive emotion that you feel in life is experienced in relation to your goals. Now, I'm not counting basic things like shelter or food, but all of the meaning in your life is related to your goals. When you see yourself moving toward your goal, then you'll be inspired. You'll have enthusiasm, energy, hope, and that will come out in your personality, and it will come out in your interactions with other people. Number 5, set your sights. An important note related to goals is that what you focus on is what you will see. I mean this quite literally. There's a famous test of attention known as the invisible gorilla. Subjects are asked to count how many times a basketball team passes a basketball. Meanwhile, a gorilla walks past the players. Surprisingly, more than 50% of the observers don't notice the gorilla. So my point is, you literally see what you focus on. Or to put it another way, you will see what you're aiming for. And because of this, be sure that what you aim for is something that you actually want. If your aims are corrupt or unhealthy, then you'll see corrupt and unhealthy ways to facilitate your goals. Likewise, if your aims are high, then you'll see things differently than if your aims are low. So your beliefs will influence your perception. Number 6, be humble. Recognize your faults. No one is perfect. Even after you grow and improve, you will still have room to improve more. Personal growth, self-improvement is a lifelong journey, not a destination. And ask for help when you need it. This is something that I struggled with in the past. It was difficult for me to ask for help. Well, I'm here to tell you, give you permission, it's okay to ask for help. And my 7th point is just to mention that there are many types of personal growth. How difficult the growth is, how difficult the type of growth that you want to make is, and how long it takes will vary from person to person. So what kind of personal growth do you want? Determining the right personal growth method for you is going to depend on your strengths, your challenges, your goals. But just to mention the main categories, there is intellectual growth, growing mentally, social growth, developing things like communication skills, spiritual growth, being holistic, finding inner peace, emotional growth, dealing with anxiety, stress management, physical growth, nutrition and exercise, professional growth, developing your career, relationship growth, finding new relationships or improving your existing relationships. Really, there are so many types of personal growth and self-improvement, but follow my simple formula and you will be successful with all of them. Let me know down in the comments if you'd like me to talk about the types of personal growth in more detail. All right, so to wrap up, if you want to guarantee success in personal growth and self-improvement, answer the 4 questions that I asked earlier in the video and follow these 2 principles. Principle number 1, make yourself uncomfortable. If you aren't uncomfortable, you aren't growing. We've all heard the saying, no pain, no gain. It's true. And make no mistake, I'm not just talking about physical growth, exercising and whatnot. Any kind of improvement, getting good grades in school, a promotion at work, improving your marriage, raising kids, meditating. Getting better at anything in life involves some amount of discomfort. Sometimes it's even painful. And the irony of this is, you're probably already uncomfortable. Think about it. Lisa dreaded the thought of taking the communications class because she knew she had to give speeches. But she was already uncomfortable every time she had to speak with a stranger. Principle 2, have good aims. Whatever you aim at is what you will get. Think of an aim as like a stepping stone toward your goal. If your aim is not good, you'll grow in the wrong direction or you'll get the wrong kind of growth. Lisa's goal was to have a good career. Her first aim was to take the communications class. Her next aim was to improve her resume writing and her interviewing skills. Her final aim was to crush the interview and get the job offer. Make yourself uncomfortable and have good aims. That's it. It's that simple. Now, it's not necessarily easy to accomplish. That's why the journey will be uncomfortable and sometimes painful. But these are the 2 core principles that will guide you. And remember, throughout this process, be patient with yourself. Self-improvement is like a snowball. As you improve and grow in one area, you will benefit yourself in other areas of your life. If, for example, you improve stress management, which is spiritual growth, you'll also have more professional growth. Okay? If you found this video helpful or interesting, I would really appreciate a like, thumbs up. And if you have any questions or thoughts, as always, please leave a comment and I'll be happy to reply. And we'll talk again real soon. Thanks for watching.